Pennsylvania begins the 2015-16 fiscal year without a spending plan in place after Governor Tom Wolf chose to become the first governor in more than 40 years to line-item veto an entire budget. It is an auspicious start to a first term in office for him, as well as for first-term State Representative Kate Klunk from the 169th Legislative District. Representative, June 30th, 2015 is probably a day that you will always remember because of all that went down that day. What was it like to see what all did go down from a legislative standpoint, a budget bill, a pension bill, a liquor bill, and then to see the governor say no to the budget and say, I'll take a look at the other two sometime later on?
It was unfortunately a day of no, which is really disheartening for a first-term legislator, especially when we have a governor who has really talked about making sure that we have a government that works up here in Harrisburg. But right now I just don't see him as a governor that works for Pennsylvania, because he said no to a very fiscally responsible, balanced, on-time budget that does not raise taxes on Pennsylvanians. Time and time again, over the long weekend when we were preparing this budget for final vote, I was getting calls, text messages, Facebook, email, you name it. Hold the line on spending. Hold the line against Governor Wolf's tax increase for Pennsylvania. The folks back home in York County do not want, nor can they afford, the tax increase that Governor Wolf has in mind.
Let's talk about the money portion of this. Just like any other household, you have to have money to be able to do what you want to do. In this case, there's a budget, and in order to do what he would like to have done, some of the increases, you have to have money to do it. His thought is taxes, or his answer, I should say. On June 1st, we kind of got an answer to how people feel about that idea. Could you talk about what happened on June 1st here in Harrisburg?
Well, Scott, you can't spend what you don't have. Time and time again, when I was a child, I would ask for things. I would go to my dad and say, Daddy, can I get this? I really, really want this. Well, sweetheart, well, Kate, we don't have money for that. So we don't have the money to spend on that. It's the same thing here in Harrisburg. The governor needs to realize that you can't spend what you don't have. And that is the message that every single House member sent to him on June 1st, when his entire tax proposal was placed before us for an up or down vote. Republicans and Democrats alike, from Pittsburgh to Erie to Philadelphia and everywhere in between, said no, because their constituents at home can't afford it, nor do they want it.
So that's every tax increase he is proposing.
Exactly.
PIT sales.
PIT, sales, severance tax, increasing the expansion on sales tax to include nursing homes, diapers, caskets, candy, textbooks for our college students, room and board for our college students. You name it, it was pretty much included in that over $500 or 500 laundry list item for sales tax that he wants to expand to, and Pennsylvanians don't want it. And that was the loud and clear message that we sent to him on June 1st. And now we fast forward to June 30th, and he has no other plan other than to tax and spend our way to oblivion here in Pennsylvania.
Let's talk about education. Obviously, that's a huge component in any state budget.
Absolutely.
And let's talk about what some things do for education, what some things don't do for education.
Well, under our balanced budget, we do have some large increases for education. And one thing that I want to make sure that folks back home understand is you hear time and time again that we have decreased funding here in Pennsylvania for our students in our public schools, which is absolutely not the case. They harken back to the late 2000s when federal stimulus dollars ran out. Pennsylvania did not pull out from our schools and reduce funding in our public schools. And as a matter of fact, Pennsylvania ranks 6th in the entire country on per pupil spending. So when folks say that we aren't spending enough on education, we are ranked 6th in the country. And sometimes I wonder, what is enough?
Good point. The governor has said that the budget he was presented the math doesn't add up. How do you respond to that?
Well, it's unfortunate that he says that the math doesn't add up, because here in Pennsylvania we have a constitutional responsibility to provide an on-time, balanced budget, something that our federal government does not have a requirement to do. So here in Pennsylvania we provided him with a balanced budget that was not filled with gimmicks like they are trying to say, and it's just unfortunate that he did not line item veto some of the things that he might not agreed with, but still keep the items that he did agree with, because I'm sure there are items that we can agree on to make sure that Pennsylvania government does move forward, because right now we're at a stalemate.
Now, there are two separate pieces of legislation that tie into this whole thing also. The liquor bill, again, a separate bill. The pension bill, again, a separate bill. But they do matter to each other. Explain what that means.
They do. They are intertwined with our budget. Liquor stores has been, selling off the liquor stores and privatizing our liquor business here in Pennsylvania has been a #1 concern of people all across the state. I heard it going door to door. Get us out of the liquor business. In doing so, it will save us a large chunk of money on long-term pension issues with all of those state employees, which translates into the pension issue. We have an over $50 billion pension crisis between SERS, the state employees retirement system, and PSERS for our teachers. And what we need to do in Pennsylvania for the long-term stability of our current retirees, for our current employees and future employees here in the state, is to really make sure that we are shoring that up financially and taking that burden and risk off of the backs of taxpayers, because that is what is driving a lot of the costs of doing business here in Pennsylvania for a lot of our businesses, because it's tied to our school property taxes, especially at the local level. I've talked to a number of our school board members, and they've been able to hold the line on spending at the local level, but for the pension increases that they are required to make, and that seems to be the largest chunk of their budgets moving forward, are those pension obligations. So in moving forward with this pension bill, we can free up money that has been going to pensions and actually divert that money and get it back into the classroom where it really needs to go to help our students.
There's one other key element to pensions that I need you to address. And for the record, you don't take a pension.
I do not.
I should say that.
I do not take a pension.
However, some of your colleagues do. If this bill goes through, the ones that do will be impacted and forced to lead by example.
Absolutely. That is one thing that we, during negotiations on this, said we need to lead by example. We are the leaders of Pennsylvania, and when it comes to pension reform, we need to make sure that we are the ones who are moving in the right direction and are not part of the problem. We need to be a part of the solution up here in Harrisburg, and that's where, under the pension plan as it stands now, that is still under review by the governor, legislators upon re-election, so upon next re-election, current state legislators who are re-elected will move into the new pension hybrid 401k style plan that is included in this pension bill, which really, again, helps take that burden off of the taxpayer, shifts the risk, and really makes sure that the long-term financial stability of our pension system for our retirees is solid. We need to make sure this happens for not only your generation, my grandparents' generation, but my generation and future generations moving forward.
Representative Klunk's contact information will be on the screen in a few seconds if you have questions or comments about this or any other legislative issue. I'm Scott Little. This has been Legislative Report with your State Representative Kate Klunk.